What's happening inside you, it doesn't stay there. It leaks, it ripples, it shapes your team, your results, everything. And here's how to change it. I'm Bukhalo. This is Beyond the Pattern. Thanks for tuning in. This is episode 2 of our 4-part series. Last time we talked about Maya and Devin, 2 leaders who realized their old ways of doing things weren't working anymore. Today we're going deeper. What happens when the stuff you haven't dealt with starts showing up in how you lead? Maya wasn't struggling because she didn't know what she was doing. She was struggling because of what was happening inside. The pressure, the doubt, the old habits that were quietly running the show. And she's not alone. There's actually research from Deloitte showing that 70% of C-suite leaders are thinking about leaving their jobs to find something that supports their well-being. Now think about that. These are people at the top, highly paid, tons of experience, and they're still asking, can I keep doing this? So that should tell you the doubt, the exhaustion, it doesn't go away when you climb the ladder. It just kind of grows and evolves. And the thing is, it can start early. And you've heard me talk about even the time when I was 12, I was figuring out how to survive chaos and instability. So I built patterns that helped me push through and do things on my own and be strong. And it worked early in my career, but as your role expands and grows and you get more responsibility, that's when it becomes a challenge. Now, when I think back to that time, those patterns made me who I am, but they also followed me into leadership, and they shaped how I connected with people and how I communicated and how I defined success. And that's when you can feel trapped. But that's how patterns work. A survival move from when you were 12 can show up 30 years later in a meeting. And here's the truth. Whatever's unresolved in you is going to show up in how you lead, at home or at work. Self-doubt doesn't announce itself. It kind of sneaks in. You over-explain or you overwork. Maybe you micromanage. You say yes when you mean no. You go silent when your team needs clarity. And you get impatient when what they actually need is direction. And your team feels it. They start mirroring it, holding back, second-guessing, avoiding risk. And so when you shrink, they shrink. And then innovation drops. Engagement then drops. And eventually performance drops. But here's the flip side. When you do the work, when you center yourself, it builds habits that support your confidence, and then you can surround yourself with people who remind you of your strengths. And that's the ripple that changes. The room will start to feel different, then trust grows, and people start speaking up again. And that's the ripple. It drives results, not just good vibes, but actual results. Now, let's be real. A lot of companies right now are struggling. Budgets are tight. Growth targets keep going up. We're being asked to meet the standard of performance from COVID, which was an outlier. But leaders are being asked to hit bigger numbers anyway, with half the team. So there's a lot to consider. And when that's the reality, it's easy to just default to autopilot. Or I'm going to keep grinding. I'm going to push harder. I'm going to work longer. But autopilot is how yesterday's patterns run today's problems. It's how teams burn out. It's how leaders lose their people. And what actually changes things isn't just a new strategy. It's showing up with more intention, more presence. And presence isn't soft. It's a performance driver. If this is resonating, if you're realizing your inner world is shaping your outer results more than you thought, then I'm running Beyond the Pattern live. And that's a 90-minute training where I'll teach you different frameworks so you can learn to identify your pattern and see where it's costing you so you can make plans to shift it. I'm keeping the group small, but the link's in the show notes. So let's keep going. All right, let me ask you a few questions just to sit with them for a second. What are you carrying into the rooms you lead? And when you think about leadership, keep in mind, this could mean a lot more than just work. But what are you carrying with you into the rooms you lead? And how is that shaping what happens there? What stories are you still telling yourself about your worth or your capacity? And are they even true? Who in your life reflects back to you the version of you that you forget when things get hard? These aren't abstract questions. This is really about your next tough decision, your next meeting, your next hard conversation. And here are 3 moves you can make right now. 1, you can name what's real and be honest about the uncertainty with yourself and your team, because that's the elephant in the room. right? 2, you can tighten your focus, simplify the meetings. Right now, when we're in a time of upset conditions or crisis, even when you think back to COVID, anything you can do to remove some of the stress makes a difference. So maybe you want to cover 10 things in your meeting. Focus on the top 4 things that are most important. Simplify the meetings, get clear on what actually matters. And then 3, build your mirror. Find people, mentors, peers, or a coach who remind you of your strengths when you can't see them, because it's easy to get caught up in so much of the day-to-day and different things that happen. Let me answer 2 questions that I hear pretty often when we're talking about this kind of stuff. The first question is, how do I stop my self-doubt from spreading to my team? You don't eliminate it, you manage it. So it's important to ground yourself before big meetings and talk it through with someone you trust, like a peer, a coach, so it doesn't land on your team. Even if someone's not available, being able to talk through it with yourself, I think allows you to actually hear what you sound like. Second question is, how do I lead when the pressure to deliver is so high? You lead the people and focus less on the numbers, because clarity and trust, when you focus on that, that's what drives performance. But when you have a stressed out team, they're not going to deliver results better until they can feel more grounded, more relaxed, and more calm. I'm not talking about to the point where they're falling asleep, but a stressed out team is not going to deliver results. A grounded team can do way more with even less. So the importance is just really trying to maintain some level of calm to help keep the team grounded. Now, if you're ready to do this work with support, that's what Beyond the Pattern Live is for. I'll teach you the frameworks and walk you through applying it. Again, the link's in the description. The next episode that we're going to be talking about is going to involve emerging leaders. It's going to focus on what emerging leaders can learn when everything feels uncertain. So hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And remember, leadership isn't about your title. It's about your presence, and your presence starts inside you. See you in a few weeks. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Pattern. If this episode spoke to you, leave a review or send a message. I read every note, and you can reach out to me to get more tools and resources at bukalaogantala.com.